Hey guys, Aaron here for Movie Battleground, and today we bring you an exciting new match and an exciting new format. For those of you who let's be honest, you guys all know, we had a team match and it went sort of well, but it was a shit show behind the scenes. And then we tried to have a second team match, shit show behind the scenes, and we quit. We just stopped doing them. That's pretty much how it works. That team match, we have 3 out of the 4 competitors that would have been in that match here with us today. We have, for the most part, the questions that were going to be used in that team match. We have 1 reworded and 1 new question. And we are going to have ourselves the first ever triple threat. And this is super exciting. So we're going to go ahead and introduce them based on record. So the first one we're going to introduce, he is 2-0 in the league. Top contenders at the top, going for a hopeful victory today. Andrew, how you doing?
I'm doing quite well. I'm currently hungover, so this is going to be interesting.
All right, and we move on from someone who's hungover to someone who legally, I hope, isn't hungover. Linus Babcock, how you doing?
I'm not legally allowed to be hungover, so put it there. I'm excited to be in this match, going against a teammate here and an admin here, so it's going to be exciting. I have 1 question that I'm particularly excited for, and it's gonna be a good fight for sure.
Yes, clearly, if you look at Linus's image right there, the argument is, what is the best Godfather movie? And he's excited to argue Godfather Part 3.
Well, too bad I've never seen a Godfather movie, so.
All right, and with that, we move on to the third person, and I swear to God, I'm going to take shit for this match either way, because if he loses, then it's admin bias, and if he wins, then it's because I don't want to be biased towards the admins. Zack Ford, Zach, how you doing?
I lost my place on that comment. I'm doing okay. I'm at the end of a sinus infection, so hopefully my energy can come out. And I'm not hungover. I'm drinking. So
I was going to ask, are you hungover? Is half this match hungover right now?
Nope. I'm a half a beer in. It's the opposite.
You will be hungover. Okay, perfect.
I'm future hungover.
All right, guys. So with that, this is the new format that we're going to be testing. So this is an exciting test for us today. Just so you guys are aware of the fact, this is the same with the team match. As a bonus for trialing a new format, you guys are each going to get a 3-point bonus on your stats, the same as the team match players did for trialing out a new format. Because let's be honest, this could go one way or the other. This could go south real fast, but let's hope it doesn't. With that being said, the way this is going to work is we have 5 main round questions, not 4, but 5. Each player we're going to do all 5, and each 3 is going to argue in all 5. At the end, when we have our points, the 2 highest scoring players are going to move on to the speed round. The third one is going to keep that out. Extremely interesting to see how this goes. 1 player is 2 wins in, 1 player has a knockout, and the other player is not an admin. We're going to go into the first question here, and studio that, I mean, almost for almost 10 years now, really, if we're thinking about it, has been putting out and making a success off low-budget, really well-done horror movies for the most part. If you get a good movie, you get Paranormal Activity. If you get a bad one, you get The Gallows, or whatever the fuck that movie was called.
Oh, boy.
and they've also shown that they can do things outside of the horror genre as well. If you get a good movie, you get Whiplash, which I'm pretty sure everybody tried to pick at one point.
I did not try to pick Whiplash.
Holograms. Yes, Blumhouse did produce Gem of the Holograms. We're talking about Blumhouse. 10 years of great filmography. We go back as far as 2015 in this match. What is the best Blumhouse going to go ahead and start this fight off with Andrew opening statements.
Okay. Personally, I think the best Blumhouse movie, horror movie, is The Gift. The Gift is a completely original movie, and it is something that should not have been as good as it was. By the trailers, it honestly didn't look original, but it took me completely by surprise. The star of it, it's really, even though he was well known, I think it's really shows the talents of Joel Edgerton and Rebecca Hall and Jason Bateman. But Joel Edgerton in particular, who stars and directs this movie, and I think does a masterful job in both. Should have got more award recognition. And yeah, I'll get more into it when we start the main fight.
All right, and with that, we're going to move on to Linus.
All right. Starting this question off, I'm definitely not the most knowledgeable person here on Blumhouse movies. I'm not a big horror fan, but there's one film that came out this year that surprised me a lot, and I think a common theme in all our films is going to be a surprising film that kind of came out of nowhere. And my film is Split. I think Split is a fantastic film that nowhere. And you might think, oh, I'm going to spoil Split, by the way, so I can't really argue.
It's fine. Spoilers are in effect for all of these.
So, yes, Split is tied into Unbreakable, which is a fantastic film. And it builds up a franchise even more so, but that's not all that's great about this film. Even if the film didn't have the twist, it is still fantastically made. Fantastic performances by James McAvoy and Anya Taylor-Joy, and there's just so much complexity, and their characters are complex, they're interesting, and they're some of the best characters we've seen. It's a return to form for Shyamalan, and I think it was a great surprise film that came out.
All right, and Zach, you're up next.
We're going to talk about original and surprising horror films. We have to start with Get Out. Get Out is an unproven director, someone we've known as for comedy. No one would expect he would come out with what is a very funny film, but also just absolutely terrifying. And true definition of a horror film compared to some of these other films that are more, I think, thrillers and actually being scary at times. It is scary and funny, and it's such a blend of this that's really hard to do. But also blending it with such complexity and political statement, making it relevant to being this rare horror movie that has a really high chance of getting nominated for Best Picture for an Oscar, which we don't even discuss with most movies, but because this one still has such a statement, such a relevancy, and succeeds in all genre fronts as well. That's why it's in the conversation.
All right, great openings from all of you guys. Because this is a newer format, we're kind of experimenting with how much these guys can get in. We're going to be extending the time on the fights for today's match. So for the opening match, we normally give you guys 6 minutes. I'm actually going to give you guys 8 minutes to fight this one out. We're going to go ahead. When first person starts talking, I'll hit the timer.
All right, I think the main problem with both of your movies is that on second watch, they're not as good. While with The Gift, you watch it more and more, you notice more things, and it gets better and better because you notice little things that happen. And I just love that. With Split, if you don't know what the Unbreakable universe is, it's kind of a stupid movie because of what James McAvoy ends up being. And with Get Out, it's a little bit too predictable. While the twist on why everything is happening, I did not see that coming. I did predict that the girlfriend was going to turn on him, and I did predict that a lot of the things in there. And with The Gift, you don't know what's going to happen at the end. The ending to The Gift, it leaves up to interpretation. You don't know whether he raped Rebecca Hall's character or not. You don't know whose baby is it. Is it Jason Bateman's or is it Joel Edgerton's? And Joel Edgerton, it's the best directed out of all of them. I think it has the best script, the best acting, and with the Get Out, it might get award recognition. And while The Gift did not get award recognition, it 100% should have. Edgerton should have got nominated for directing and acting, and I think it's a travesty that he didn't.
McAvoy is the best performance out of all of these films. He is so complex. He plays multiple characters better than anything. And you have performances from Anya Taylor-Joy where she has to realize she is so confused. Like, when her uncle comes back for her, there's even a part of her that's, like, confused if she wants to go back to this world that she was in when she was taken. It kind of controlled her and it changed her. And you see all these performances. And it is a comeback from Shyamalan, which is something is completely unexpected. Yes, you can argue that Get Out, it is unexpected. But if you've seen some of the work by Jordan Peele from the Key and Peele show, you see he has talent. He is an amazing writer, and he is smart. And comedy can transfer to horror in many ways, as those are both genres that are pretty hard to write. And as a surprise as it was, him taking on a horror film, I thought that was a good idea, and I thought it was a great film. But I honestly think it's one of the most overrated films from the year.
Thanks for giving me a lot of credit for how great my direction was and how it was such a good idea for this to take that. And then your only attack being, I didn't like it. No reasons. He says he had a great vision. He has a great choice for that. I agree. Also, you can't call something predictable, Andrew, and then say, "But I had no idea how it was going to end." That means because it's not predictable. You just because you knew one part of it.
Oh,
hold on. And now I forgot what I was going to say, but Get Out is completely unpredictable, and it helps. I think even the girlfriend part, I couldn't guess it because the performance was so strong that she pulled this friendliness, this face, right into the last second when she needed it. But all the other twists of how these bodies were being treated, why they were being treated for, one works as a twist, but also works in it's thematically, and for you to dig into it. And Split and Gift are not even horrifying. They're barely horror films. They're thrillers. The Gift, you say, is original. It's not original. It's Fatal Attraction with men. With a friend instead of a girlfriend. It is completely ripped off of Fatal Attraction with this stalker. It just has a little bit of a mix up with Jason Bateman's character that isn't that exciting. And Jason Bateman, honestly, I hate as a dramatic actor. He seems sleazy, and I never want to follow him. He's not something that's entertaining me for the watch. I like him being a straight guy as comedies. He doesn't translate into a dramatic performance. And Split is kind of exploitative. It's supposed to be this fun kind of super monster movie with how James McAvoy turns out, but it's taking kind of a rape drama. He hasn't raped them, but he's keeping them hostage, something very serious in society, and treating this as something that's supposed to be exciting and thrilling. And to me, it's just uncomfortable.
It's shown well. And it's shown very well in that film.
All right, I think
it's shown to be fun.
I think a big problem with
shown
Split,
well and directed well.
I think a big problem with Split is that the only two people you care about in that movie are Anya Taylor-Joy and James McAvoy.
Well, those are like the main characters, so I mean, of course you're gonna care about them more.
But there's all the other girls. They're in the same situation Anya Taylor-Joy. You really don't care what happens to them
because she's developed
I just
more.
don't.
That's just the way they chose to develop her character more.
Why The Gift is a better movie straight off the bat than Split is all the characters are more well developed, and you care about the characters a hell of a lot more. You care about why Rebecca Hall is feeling the way she feels. You care about why Jason Bateman does what he does. You want to know why he's like the way he is, and you want to know. And you care about why Joel Edgerton is the way he is. The whole dynamic between Jason Bateman and Joel Edgerton is fantastic. The whole dynamic between Rebecca Hall and Jason Bateman also fantastic. And what I said when I meant by predictability, I didn't see coming why they were doing what they were doing. I saw the girlfriend turning on him at the end. I saw the best friend who works for the TSA coming to save him at the end. I saw him, no pun intended, getting out at the end.
Yeah.
I saw that coming.
Kind of predictable. And I would argue that Get Out is the one here that's less horror than ours. I'd say ours are more horror.
With
Goofy and thriller. If you search it up on Google, it says thriller before it says horror, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and with The Gift, there are and I'm not a fan of jump scares at all, but there are two very effective jump scares in The Gift that I will say right now. And the first one is when the dog goes missing and she hears the noise and the dog comes out of nowhere. That was very frightening because you didn't know what that was, and it wasn't a fake out. And the second one, which is a very, very effective one, which is, the better of the two, is when Rebecca Hall's character is having the dream sequence and she's in the shower and Joel Edgerton's character comes out of nowhere and you're freaked out and scared because you're like, why is he in the house? But, it turns out it's a dream, but, it's very effective. And with, Split and Get Out, they're not really that scary. The Gift is very scary, and it's based off of, because Joel Edgerton is so creepy, you don't know what he's up to. You don't know what his plan is. You don't know what he's going to do next. And the ending just stays with you. With Get Out, all right, it's the typical story on, the good guy escapes at the end. Split, yes, it's cool, but if you've never seen an Unbreakable movie, if you don't know why Bruce Willis is there, if you don't know who Mr. Glass is there, which, but casual movie-going audience is not going to know. It's stupid, really.
Yeah, people like Split because it died at the end because it was exciting. They're like, oh, it's a sequel, and they're excited because it was like M. Night Shyamalan's first decent movie in a long time, and that doesn't make it great. And the fact that you're calling The Gift a horror movie at all is ridiculous. It is, I guess, creepy, but as creepy as like your neighbor that doesn't wear a shirt and just stares out the window. It's not like you're gonna lose your life. Get Out is filled with dread from the beginning with the open scene with the guy getting kidnapped, and then also the different maids and the gardener and their kind of tone, their robotic tone, that is just frightening.
All right.
You don't know.
Is that time?
You don't need to have jump
scares. That's gonna be time on the main fight. We're gonna start back with Andrew again for closing arguments.
Okay. The Gift is just the scariest out of the three, has the best acting, the best directing. Like Linus said, Jordan Peele has done better stuff. Shyamalan has done better stuff. Joel Edgerton, this is his first time directing, and he knocks it out of the park. Does a great job. Anybody could have honestly played anybody in Get Out. Nobody could have played Joel Edgerton's character. Nobody could have played Jason Bateman's character the way he did. Nobody could have played Rebecca Hall's character the way they did. The dynamic between the three of them is just absolutely awesome. And, it questions, and which is why I really like this movie. It questions, the person you're closest to, can you really trust them? Can you really believe what they say? And that's why I love The Gift.
All right, we're going to go to Linus.
Split is a fantastic movie, and you might argue that it's not scary, but there's so many parts in this mind. James McAvoy is such a complex character that he doesn't even know what's going on in his own mind with the multiple personalities. Yes, that might have been done before, but adding this supernatural element to it and making this kidnapping scenario of the hostage or whatever, like kidnapping thing, with the supernatural added such a more interesting dynamic to it, and adding that it is unbreakable is interesting and makes it a lot more lastful in the film community. And honestly, Unbreakable is probably more well-known than Split, so if anyone's going to be watching Split, I'm sure they've seen Unbreakable. And that's not really an argument to be made because they are both fantastic films and they lap in together. This sort of a sequel, because you can't just say, well, the sequel wouldn't be better without the original because you would watch the original first. And saying if you saw Split and you saw that, you would go back and realize how amazing that is. You see that connection to another film and you didn't expect that. This is a return to form for a director that was billed as the next Spielberg, but had fallen down, and he makes this film with an amazing actor who gives one of the best performances of the year. We're talking about Oscar chances. James McAvoy should be in the conversation for what he did with that role. All the performances, the supernatural elements that were added to this film, I just feel like it is much better. And The Gift, I don't really think it's that scary. The performances were good. The direction was good. I don't know how well the story works per se. It's interesting, but I don't really think the Get Out is going to be. I mean, The Gift is going to be as remembered as Split is for what it did connecting two films together. And Get Out, I honestly believe, is as overrated as it is because it was such a surprise coming from a comedy director who, if you look at his background, you realize he could have done this. It is not as such a surprise as many people make it out to be.
All right, Zach.
Really quickly to go on some things that were said of anyone can play any of these actors. It's two specific performances I think no one could play is The Parents by I'm going to mess up their names now, Catherine Keener and Bradley Whitford, who have these liberal personas placed upon them that they can slip on their heads that help it work really thematically, that the liberal yuppies might not be as innocent as they seem, that there's still these with that and prejudices. And going off that, those hidden prejudices, there's a political relevance and just a complexity that none of these movies have. None of these movies really mean anything. They're just to be fun. Get Out manages to be fun and mean something, and that's why it becomes such a ubiquitous part of our culture, such a thing that's talked about right now more than these movies. The Gift people probably forgot about, and probably forgot Joel Edgerton directed the movie, and Split at that point was kind of exciting, but it's also kind of got lost in time because there's so many horror movies since then that has kind of one up that, and Get Out was one of that. It has overshone. But Get Out, it's still relevant. It's still something on all podcasts I hear talking about for Oscars because it has this genre feel. It is fun, it's exciting, but has its complexity that just doesn't exist in our genre movies these days. There's an importance to it.
All right, that was a great round one, guys. Looking at the notes that I made on this round. I'm trying to decide where the biggest point lies because I think all of you did a good job. Like for instance, Andrew both made good hits against both other movies. Jack really laid into The Gift, but he didn't really have as much negative to say about Split, or at least anything that caught out as a great point. But then also, it really is more down to the defenses on this one. I got to knock Andrew out of this one. I think Zach really did beat down against The Gift, and I think that does take Andrew out of this round. Comes down more so to which one had a better defense of their movie, Linus or Zach. I'm going to give the point to Zach on this one because the one big beatdown that stood out against Linus's movie is the fact that of the two leads, you don't really care or learn about anyone else, whereas Get Out does bring a lot of great all-around performances, and it brings an entire ensemble, and it makes you care about more than one character. So I'm actually going to give it to Zach on that one.
Good job.
Yeah, that was a good one. All three are really good movies. So
I had the major correct answers, so let's just go.
Yeah.
That was that. I don't think anyone's going to argue that any of those are bad movies, but that was rough. But
I like
that was fun.
Yeah,
they're all good.
I seriously think The Gift is too underrated.
I do forget The Gift completely. I don't remember a lot about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the reason that's a fair point is because that was a fair point to me is because until you said The Gift, when Andrew gave me the answer, I forgot that was like a movie that came out.
Yeah.
Then when I went back and looked, that was in my top 10 of that year. So for something to not be entirely memorable is a proper hit.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they kind of buried it. They didn't promote it well enough.
Yeah, honestly,
I wouldn't
it
have
was
heard
my
about
number
it if it wasn't for the podcasts and stuff. Like
it was my number one of 2015. So
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were doing some,
Yeah, it was
some
probably the
weird stuff.
right answer for this one.
Yeah.
And I like
It-
it,
it-
All right, so
Does hold up.
but it's not amazing. I would have been shocked
we're
if I got
gonna
that
move
point.
on to round number. This is gonna be interesting because we could not have three further different answers on this one.
Exactly.
Wherever you are.
Is use of a song in a movie, and this is talking about the song itself and the context in which the scene it's being used. That's what I'm looking for out of you guys. We're going to go ahead and start with Linus on this one. Song in a movie.
This is going to be a tough argument to argument against each other because I was looking at our answers. These are completely different answers. Like,
yeah.
There's nothing, no similarities. I went with one that is not arguably, it's the most iconic one. I went with the Star Wars theme for the opening crawl in Star Wars A New Hope. I think this is perfect. You hear bum, ba-ba-dum, bum-ba-dum, ba-da-dum. I'm not going to sing the whole song or whatever. But when you hear that, you automatically think, you go back to that scene. It sets up a universe so well, just the song itself. Without the song, you would just be reading yellow text in space, and you'd be like, what is this? But this one song makes yellow text floating through space so iconic and so memorable and something that is joked upon. The song is more than famous. It is an iconic song, and that has been used again in each film. And we didn't see it in Rogue One. People were upset that the crawl wasn't there because it's so interesting because of that song. Crawl so much better. The song is iconic. It's the best film score ever made. It's the best song used in a movie.
All right, moving on to Zach.
So when I'm thinking of what song works best for a movie, I'm thinking of the song has to have a purpose. It has to be purposeful to the themes of the movie, to the story of the movie, and really add to it. And this one that sticks out to me in a scene is the end of It's a Wonderful Life, when there's a sing-along of Auld Lang Syne. Now, it starts off, this is right when donates a lot of money to save George Bailey from his warrant put out by Mr. Potter. The community sticking out for him after George Bailey just had this existential crisis of his purpose, and these people are showing him that there's purpose. Now, alone is that action create this kind of heartfelt sincerity that really moves us, but the song that they start singing around it just makes this cathartic release of all this kind of pain and a sense of loneliness and lack of purpose that comes out in this, you know what, the world is great, we're here together. Within the lyrics of Auld Lang Syne, the melody of Auld Lang Syne all kind of create that feel. And it's not just like pure joy, it's this touch of, there's a touch of melancholy to the song Auld Lang Syne, which adds to the touch of melancholy that is there in It's a Wonderful Life. It's the kind of like, life is not perfect. We're not always going to be able to succeed and be everything we want to, but we need to take everything that we have not for granted and appreciate the kindness around us. Because we take that cup of kindness, yeah, Auld Lang Syne, those are the lyrics. And then it builds into George Bailey and his family joining the sing along and showing that they're part of this community that loves them so much.
All right, Andrew, go ahead.
All right. My answer for best use of a song in a movie is Bohemian Rhapsody in Wayne's World. Now, they're in a car and they start playing the song and they start singing along, and I think that no other song for, just singing along with your friends, having a good time is better than Bohemian Rhapsody. And the reason why, it's just so good, like the use of it was so good, it made Queen relevant again. And it because of Wayne's World, Bohemian Rhapsody is now known as one of not only the greatest rock songs, but the greatest songs of all time. And, I'll just explain it more when we get to the argument.
All right, you guys are going to have 6 minutes on the clock to argue this one. Go ahead.
So
I
Queen was always relevant. Queen didn't lose its relevance mainly because of like baseball cheers singing "We Will Rock You" on the sideline. Queen was always there, and I think that's why that scene has stuck out. It's just because people like the song. That scene doesn't really have purpose to the movie, and that song and scene could be taken out, and the movie would still be just as good and funny. It doesn't have any purpose to the story. It's just watching people be goofy in a car, which is fine. But it's like just because of that specific song, not because the scene has anything to it. Compared to mine, which the song and the scene work hand in hand to be perfect and add to the and the emotional feeling you're getting from that song. And as far as the Star Wars song, that's barely even a scene. It's the words coming in front of you, and that's another thing that, just like I said, people like Queen. That's why they like the scene.
It's a use of a song in a movie.
Song because people love Star Wars. People have watched Star Wars 5 million times, so the song gives them a more nostalgic attachment to it. Not if that wasn't there, they would find attachment to something else. That song, the first time people were probably were like, that crawl scene was the best thing I've ever seen because of that song. It's the crawl scene. It's
that helps.
For exposition.
The crawl scene would not work without the song. That's why is it so
It
great.
would work.
It's just it would just be text.
It would be quicker.
It would be text in space, and people would be bored. They'd be like looking around, and be like, "What is this? Am I supposed to read?" The music gives it some epic theme to it. And with All Lang Syne, I think that is a New Year's song. I always think of that as a New Year's song.
It's New Year's in the scene.
I know, but like, you think Wonderful Life, you think Christmas, and like.
Holidays. It's a holiday thing. That's not
All Lang Syne is such an iconic song. When I think of that song, I'm not thinking of It's a Wonderful Life. And I think that scene is so good where she says every time a bell rings, an angel gets its rings. That's what you think about when you think about that scene. I barely even remember that song was used in that scene. And with Wayne's World, that's a great moment with friends hanging out in the car. Even if that song wasn't there, just them doing their wacky hijinks in the car just would be funny enough to watch. And yeah, Queen has always been relevant. Queen is still relevant today, and that movie was out in the 90s, so I don't think that really helped it per se.
All right, listen, like for real, Queen was like they were a thing, but they weren't doing much before Wayne's World came out. Once Wayne's World came out and that scene happened, everybody fell in love with Queen again. Queen became relevant. It revived their careers, and I think
they didn't do anything after that. They revived
they did.
Well, the main singer is dead.
It's Queen.
The main singer
It's always
is dead.
been
What else do you
popular.
expect them to you?
Star Wars made John Williams the most famous composer of all time.
Jaws made John Williams the most
Star
famous
Wars
composer.
is more iconic than Jaws.
E.T.
The Star Wars
made John Williams a famous composer, not Star Wars. And I think
more iconic than the Jaws thing.
John Williams Jaws was already super iconic.
Yeah.
Before Star Wars, and there's already scores.
Is a more iconic
and I think that you could replace
more
any song in Star Wars and put it in the crawl, and the crawl will just be just as fun.
Not every song is as epic as the opening crawl song.
I do agree with you, Linus, that just seeing text would be boring, but I think you could just place any song from Star Wars, and the crawl scene would just be fine.
You can't play like Leia's theme. That wouldn't work. It's the epicness of that song.
But John Williams has done many epic scores that you could have placed in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if you like, this is Space Adventure, it's the Superman music, but they didn't know it was Superman at that point.
Exactly. And
but it's the song they use.
There are a lot better uses of a song in not just A New Hope, but in Star Wars in general, where I think it completely makes the crawl scene as the best use out of the question. It's not even the best. It's not even the best use of it in a Star Wars movie.
Let's just finish off Linus now. Because if someone's asked to name their favorite Star Wars scene, it has to at least get to like 20. Someone's going to say the crawl.
We're not saying the crawl is the best scene in the movie. I'm saying it's the best use of a song in the movie.
I think
that the Wayne's World car scene is the best scene in Wayne's World.
Yes, it is.
Star Wars is not the crawl.
Yes, it is 100% the best scene
in Wayne's World.
Yes, it is.
There's a lot of other jokes.
They can use other songs, and they can use other songs.
Yeah, name one.
They could
could
just pick
any
any song on
other
the radio.
Queen
They're so
song.
funny that you put any song there. It's the characters that make it great. It's
Yeah,
not that song.
And Bohemian Rhapsody really personifies what those characters are. It really personifies the goofiness of the characters, and that's what makes it so great. You can't
Lots of
make,
songs can show the characters are
you
goofy.
can't put any other song, let alone a Queen song, in there to make it as great of a scene as it was. It is the most iconic scene in Wayne's World. It is the most talked about scene in Wayne's World. It is one of the most talked about scenes ever, and it's because
No, it's not one of the most talked about
yes,
scenes.
it is.
Not ever.
And it is because of
Bet there's
Bohemian
most
Rhapsody.
memorable movie scene
If-
where that car scene is on there.
yeah,
The Star
it
Wars
is.
crawl is so iconic. People were mad, furious that the crawl was not in Rogue One because it is so
Well,
iconic.
the crawl
with
didn't
that
need
song.
to be. The crawl did not need to be in Rogue One.
But people wanted it to be because they love it so much.
I
and that
didn't
epic
want it.
build up.
I did not want it to be
Everyone
in
wanted
Rogue
that
One
music
for
is
one.
So epic with it.
Even if it wasn't Rogue One, once again, no one would be like, the best part was the crawl scene. Thank God they put the
No, but
crawl
it puts you in the universe. It sets
It's
everything
called
up for
a
you. That's why it's the
crawl.
best. The music sets a universe. The
And-
music
and-
gives you the tone of everything. The music was
And-
the first thing people saw of Star Wars, the first thing they heard. Star Wars would not be Star Wars without that opening music that sets people
Star
into
Wars-
the universe.
Star Wars would not be Star Wars without, a lot of things. Like,
Guys,
Yeah, well,
that's
you know,
time.
Wow, that was fast.
I feel
Jesus.
really bad for my wife that's having to listen to me scream from the other room.
Oh, God.
Oh, that was interesting. All right, guys, we're going to go to Linus first for closing arguments. Go ahead, man.
With All Lang Syne, it's not the song that makes that scene memorable to me. It's the daughter, it's the family, it's the town coming together. Sure, the song is helpful, but if you take it out, I think that song would still have emotional weight, and it would still be a great scene, and it would still be iconic with the bell ringing and the angel. I don't think the song exactly changes that scene very much. It is good, it helps it, but I don't without it. With Wayne's World, that is Bohemian Rhapsody is a great song, and I honestly think you could put other songs in there, and you see how wacky the characters are. Even if there wasn't music and they're just messing around, doing stuff in a car, that would be funny. That sets up the characters. With the opening crawl, you can't use any music from Star Wars. That one is so epic, and it sets the tone for a whole universe just in that scene. And it would just be text floating in space. And I'm not arguing that that's the best scene in Star Wars, because that's not what the question's asking. The question is, what is the best use of music? And this music sets up a universe just in the opening scene. The music sets the universe.
All right, Zach, up next. Go ahead.
So if you viewers out there noticed in that big shout out, It's a Wonderful Life didn't get mentioned for like 4 minutes with any hate that because the passionate against arguments all for the other films. They don't have a lot to say against mine because it has such a purpose. All the other ones, they're fun scenes, they're not that meaningful to the film and to the themes and to following the story. When this scene, as Linus agreed, is a memorable scene, a great scene. He said the songs didn't matter, but they 100% add to the emotion because the words alone talk about the cup of kindness, passing it, which is thematically is part of the film. The song alone has that touch of melancholy that's made it one of my favorite holiday songs that also balances that joy that there's in the film, but life isn't a perfect joy. That song adds to life is not a perfect joy, which is what It's a Wonderful Life is trying to get. Both of the other songs don't add anything to the themes. One is there for comedic purposes, and you could put any other electric rock song in there, any Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd song, and it'd be fine. And the other one is a crossing. I'm not even willing to argue that as a scene. They can just quickly post the exposition on something, and it wouldn't change the film at all. It's not something. It's memorable because people remember Star Wars, because people are nerds for Star Wars and love Star Wars, and that's why they like the song. It's pure nostalgia attached. It doesn't really have the purpose to serving the story and the characters and the message as much as Auld Lang Syne does.
All right, Andrew, go ahead.
All right. The reason I didn't get a chance to, knock down It's a Wonderful Life is because we ran out of time. So,
Yeah.
Because we spent 10 minutes. Okay, sorry.
Okay. But if it was such a great use of a song in It's a Wonderful Life, I would know what the song is. I would know what the scene is. I would know what it's about. I don't know. anything about the song. I don't know anything about the scene. And if it was really that great a use of a song, I would know. For Star Wars, there are better uses of a song in Star Wars. With the Imperial March. With the Imperial March. With Duel of the Fates. With Leia's theme. With Binary Sunset. All 4 of those are better uses of a song in a Star Wars movie. Let alone any movie. With Wayne's World. And you can't just put any Pink Floyd song or Led Zeppelin song because they're just different styles like Queen. Bohemian Rhapsody is the perfect song for that scene. And if the song wasn't in and they were just acting goofing, they would just seem like a bunch of assholes and they would be hated characters. With Bohemian Rhapsody, it shows how goofy they are and shows how likable they are.
That was
again, guys. Another great song.
That would be the heated question.
Yeah, who would have thought that would get heated? Oh, all right. The reason I stopped judging for it. This is hard. Fortunately, I hate to do it again to him, but I think Andrew was kind of knocked out by Linus and Zach. I think they pretty much hit all the points they could have hit against Andrew.
I 100% was not expecting to win that one, to be honest.
Yeah, I gotta take him out of that one.
That's a great use of a song, though.
I know.
I love that scene.
It is the most memorable scene in that movie.
I know. I 100% was not expecting. I did my best, but let's just continue this fight or this match.
No, it was a good try. It's just they really went at it.
I know.
It's the most intense fight I've been in.
I didn't think I'd see 2 players so quickly go, let's just finish this guy off, like right now.
I said it to Linus.
That was for me.
Yeah, once I saw Zach, I go, oh, we gotta attack Linus. And then I was like, oh wait, what about It's a Wonderful Life? And then the time ended.
Yeah.
See, this is where it gets harder. Because points against It's a Wonderful Life came from Linus, and most of the points against Star Wars did come from Zach. So that was very much a one-on-one battle in that sense of where it came from. And I think I'm going to give it to Linus on this one because I think he did defend the points on why it is iconic within the sense of the film and why it works. Specifically against Zach's choice, how do you pronounce that?
Olenstein.
Olenstein?
Yeah, I just searched that up.
It is Auld Sin, is that how you say it?
Auld
Okay, sign. Okay.
Yeah, I was not trying to pronounce that because I'm bad at pronouncing words in general.
It's just a New Year's song. That's what it is.
That's why I go, it's the song from It's a Wonderful Life.
That song.
And then here's the thing with that one, though. And here's the thing. Here's what resonated with me with that argument, okay? Point of the scene itself has more iconic moments within it, and the emotional portions of the scene can be still played through without that song. And that to me stands true because I know the exact scene you're talking about. I've seen the exact scene you're talking about. I could not remember the song. Andrew said it's not memorable, but that would be more like as in he didn't remember it. And the fact is, I don't think, as generations have gone on, I don't think it's quite a scene that has lasted through the generations and been memorable, whereas I think you guys did a really good job at it, and at the end, Andrew came in clutch with lots of different examples of great uses of music in Star Wars. It's hard to argue the iconicness of that theme and its use in the film, and Linus defended it enough to the point where I can give him the point and feel secure on that. Linus is going to get it with this one.
Thank you. That was such a tough one there.
I I know
That
that
was-
honestly. That was a tough one.
That was not a Max Vincent fight right there.
That was White Russians versus whatever the other team was, because those are tough matches.
Yeah.
That was insane. All right, so we're back to the 8-minute runtime for the rest of this match, because that was, you guys are getting intense. I like this.
Yeah.
And we're certainly gonna need it for this one.
Oh boy, I'm
two
in.
of our players were formerly known as Team Muppets. Drew,
I guess.
out of what was formerly the White Russians, is the Muppets. So it only makes sense to ask the question, what is the best? Oh my god, I can see things you guys cannot see right
Oh wait,
now.
I need to get my mask
And
up.
the edit is...
I have a Muppet shirt, but I am not putting it on because I do not know where it is.
This is about to get...
Yo, honestly, I'm really nervous for this one because I am not one of the Muppets.
Oh, if only you guys could see the things I'm looking at right now. This is awesome. Whoever that one viewer is watching live, you are seeing some very cool things in small screen. All right, Zach, you are going first on this fight. So, what is the best Muppets movie?
Okay, so the Muppets have this great ability to be these joyous characters, but also have this kind of balance of humanity, even though they're puppets. And there's nothing that has more humanity and joy in the theme than the Christmas Carol. And of any of the other movies people are going to pick, the challenge, the complexity, the risk that it was to take these Muppets and make them more like they're actors and put them into such a serious classical drama is huge. And they achieved it so wonderfully, where all I want to see is literary adaptations with Muppets in it, because it was so great. Because they did not lose any of their joy. It had some of the best music, some of the happiest songs, with One More Night to Christmas, and I forgot to look up the name of the second song, but the one that Goes to Christmas Present sings, that is such a joyous, great song. And speaking of the Goes to Christmas Present, another great thing that you can do with Muppets is create new, memorable Muppets, and that is one of my favorite Muppets, is the Goes to Christmas Present. He's kind of size-changing ghost that is always kind of appears as giant, even though when he appears really tiny sometimes. And it has this sense of magic that is very Muppet-like, joy that is Muppet-like, and once again, just that touch of real humanity and emotional depth. And to put all these Muppets in with the best human performance that any of these movies, any Muppet movie has, in Michael Caine performing what I think is the best Scrooge that's ever been performed, with Muppets alongside. He takes it so seriously. He's performing with puppets all around him, but he is doing a serious Scrooge, and he makes that heart of the movie, while in the Muppets carry all the silliness and the joy around him, and it doesn't lose any of that touch. I will take a breath because I am out of breath. I treat every round like a speed round.
Certainly something else. Oh, another glass of alcohol. All right.
Yeah, that's
We're moving on to Andrew here. Andrew, what is the best Muppets movie?
All right. For me, the best Muppets movie is the Muppet movie, the 1979 version. I think that this is as the best story. And like Zach said, Muppets are filled with joy. This is the most joyous story. And I think two things with Muppets that are like kind of synonymous throughout all the Muppet movies are its songs and its cameos. And I think that it has the best songs in Rainbow Connection and Moving Right Along, and it has the best cameos with Steve Martin, Mel Brooks, Orson Welles, Richard Pryor. They're great ones that I'm not remembering right now. But yeah.
That's a great answer. Yeah.
Don't worry, I will be fact checking now. I'm going to be looking some stuff up.
All right.
Also, I think we know who our one viewer is because Isaac just texted me, please tell me that the Muppet Puppet moment is recorded.
The Muppet Puppet will be in.
We're pulling Linus up right now with the Fozzie Bear.
Yeah.
Well,
All right. So in 2011, when The Muppets came out, when I was younger, would watch The Muppet Show. I would watch some of the Muppet movies, but I was never as invested. I went and I saw the 2011 movie, The Muppets, the night it came out. And it left such an impact on me. I saw it every night that weekend. So I saw it 3 times, like every day. That film, it is an emotional story about someone getting to live their dream in Walter. And you're talking about new Muppets that are becoming iconic and great, like the Ghost of Christmas Past. Walter is an amazing character, and he's someone you can relate to because we're all fans of stuff. We watch stuff on screen, and Walter, he doesn't have much going for him besides his fandom, and his fandom is dying. So he goes out with Gary, played by Jason Segel, who is an amazing job. He's the one that wrote it and did a fantastic job. And this whole film altogether is just about people coming together and finding a purpose and finding that people still care about them. All the Muppets, you see that their lives aren't going that great. Fozzie right here, he's in a casino performing a rip-off version of Rainbow Connection called the Reno Casino. And this movie, it brings people together. It has a good villain, and the villain does stuff that should not work. But Chris Cooper just does such an amazing job with that character. It's about people coming together and finding out that they still have a purpose and they are still wanted in this world. And it is a fantastic film.
all right, and with that, we are going to go back to the 8-minute runtime because, well, these are some passionate guys here. We have a Fozzie Bear, we have a Kermit, we have an Andrew.
I should be a Muppet.
Great argument.
Fozzie is barely in a Muppets Christmas Carol.
Are we starting?
All right. Yep, go ahead.
Okay. So the current Muppets you try to say was this kind of generational thing that brought back the Muppets for today's culture. I am a middle school teacher, the perfect age. They would have been 6, 7 years old when that came out. None of my kids can remember anything Muppets. There's no care for the Muppets. So it hasn't had this lasting impact. Whereas the Muppet Christmas Carol was such a big generational impact for my childhood and a lot of people around me. I could have a lot of friends that their main memory of Muppets, above anything else, is the Muppet Christmas Carol because it is something that we can put on every year and enjoy, and it has some more depth to it and literary value to it because it is the Muppets movies. It creates a purpose for, but it's still just tons of fun to watch the Muppets on. And then the Muppet movie is kind of stuck in the 70s. It's very Jim Henson hippie-ish. It runs a little slow. It takes its time, and it's kind of that new Hollywood feel to it that just doesn't age very well. It's not honestly tons of fun. You said it has great music, 2 songs. The rest of the songs are gonna and that goes with the movies after I have horrible music because they reached their potential with that. Because Paul Williams honestly is not a great songwriter that ages well. And talking about music, the Muppet Christmas Carol that had 2 great songs I mentioned, but also it has a score that's more memorable than any of the other scores. Kind of carrying along some of these themes from the different songs along and keeping that joy going. And the Muppets, the human actors, sure, they're good. They take over the movie. The Muppets kind of get ignored, and you follow more of Jason Segel's character than anything else. And
that is the Christmas Carol for you.
The
Christmas Carol is more Michael Caine than it is Muppets.
And
Michael
Caine isn't even the best Scrooge ever.
He is the best Scrooge. We're not going to get
the Muppets are outshadowed
is
by
the best
Michael
Scrooge.
Caine in that film. Honestly,
but because he's one human, the rest of the Muppets create everything else around it. The other
he's the main
kind of boring.
character.
He'll steal the song. He's not stealing any of the songs. The songs are all stolen by Amy Adams and Jason Segel on half of these.
And
what about Pictures in My Head? That is a fantastic song by Kermit. Amy Adams
and Jason Segel
are stars.
And nobody talks about that song.
It's kind of boring. There's more emotional songs in the second movie.
Who talks about songs from A Christmas Carol? I don't even remember.
Yeah, exactly. People talk about Rainbow Connection.
You can't remember it as nothing. You just need to watch the movie more often. That's not my fault that you don't watch it. It's great.
Okay, listen. I also like the Muppets.
Man or a Muppet because it won an Oscar.
Well, it only
won an Oscar.
It only won an Oscar because it was up against one song.
It still won an Oscar.
It had
Can you
weak
name the song it
competition
was up
that year.
against?
In any other
It's a fantastic song.
Can you name the song it was up against? No.
It's a song.
No,
It's a
'cause
song.
it-
It's a song. It's a song from Rio.
Andrew, don't help out. That was for Linus.
It's Rio. Yeah,
Well,
because
I'm
it's
trying.
so good.
And wait, hold on.
Wins anyways.
Let me get my point across. In any other year, Man or Muppet would not have won. And I know the
But it did.
Yeah, because it was a weak year. In Rainbow Connection, it did not win that year, but it was a stronger year for songs.
Rainbow Connection is performed better in the Muppets 2011 film. It is
No,
more
it's not.
emotional when they do it
People-
on stage.
people
it makes
talk-
no sense. It just starts
It's
off
also
with
a
Rainbow
hokey
Connection.
song that they perform at camp.
The
'Cause
Muppet
it's like
movie,
Kumbaya.
the plot is so it doesn't have a good plot. It's just kind of thrown together. They just like meet up. Oh, we're going to Hollywood. They get in a car crash with Gonzo. Oh, he's
Kermit
coming
wants
with
to
them.
achieve his dreams, and there's
Yeah, but
nothing
it
more
comes out
feel
because
good
some guy
about
finds him
someone
in a
wanting
swamp.
to achieve his dreams.
The
The
plot
Muppet movie,
is not
Jim
very
Henson
good.
was hot probably when he wrote it because you can tell it's all over the place and not connected. And
Yeah,
all
Rainbow
over the
Connection
place.
has that Kumbaya feel that makes it boring and not age well.
It is not
The plot
boring.
makes
It is
no sense.
It is highly entertaining. It's so much fun. It's so feel good, and that's why people go to the movies. They go to have fun. They go to feel good. With a Muppets Christmas Carol, it's not even the best Christmas Carol movie. It is. I could think of two movies that have been done better, and that is the version with Jim Carrey and
Oh
Scrooge.
God, don't say that. You just ruined your whole argument. That movie is not better.
Yes, it is. And Scrooge with Bill Murray.
Scrooge is pretty great.
Yeah, Bill Murray is a better Scrooge than Michael Caine. And I think the big problem with Muppets Christmas Carol,
The reason
at the core, it is not about the Muppets.
It's
What's
not.
great? It's not. What's great about not that I'm arguing for Linus, but they're about the Muppets. And the Muppets in my movie are better. And the cameos in mine are better, and the songs in mine are better. You know, the best cameo in Linus's
But Jack
version,
Black.
It's Jack Black. Yes.
That's a fantastic cameo.
Oh no, he
I
shouts the whole time. I watched it recently. It gets really
it is the
annoying.
best, and it's not even that good in mine. You know, Mel Brooks is hilarious in it. Steve Martin is hilarious.
Okay, what about the other great talent that they have and do nothing with? Richard Pryor has like one unmemorable
Steve
nothing.
Martin's like a waiter.
The point
nothing. They're just
the
there.
point of a cameo, they're not
climax.
supposed to have big roles in the movie. It's just great to see them pop up and make a surprise appearance in the movie. I love
that's
seeing
an
Richard
easy-
Pryor. I
that's
love
an easy
seeing Bob
gimmick
Hope.
to get you to
I
be
love
back.
seeing Orson Welles in the movie. I love seeing Cloris Leachman in the movie. And all the cameos are just fantastic. There's so many more memorable cameos in mine. The only
Cameos
one,
don't make a movie, though. Cameos
but
don't make a
listen,
movie. The
it's the worst
climax
part
of your movie is Animal becoming giant and scaring the villains away. That is the climax. That is how your movie ends. The Muppets 2011 ends with the two Muppets, Uncle Deadly. He realizes he doesn't want to do that, and he changes, and Chris Cooper gets that. It has a great climax. It has an
Let's talk
emotional
about-
climax when they
Listen.
realize they didn't win the money that they
Chris
wanted.
Cooper,
That is
who
emotional. It's not Animal turning giant
Wha-
and scaring them away.
Wha-
That is an ending they just came up with out of nowhere and just like, oh,
Why?
we gotta end it.
why I'm spending so much time talking about the cameos is because what makes the Muppets movies so part of the reason what makes the Muppets movies so great is the cameos. That's
The
why I'm
Muppets
spending-
themselves, and the Muppets aren't really in a Muppets Christmas Carol. Fozzie plays Fezziwig, such a small role. This guy's barely in it, and Robin the Frog is in it more than Fozzie.
And the Muppets in the 1979 version, it's just they're so much better than the one in the 2011 version.
No, they're not.
Jason Sudeikis and Amy Adams take away
Jason
from the movie.
Segel. Jason
Michael
Segel.
Caine.
You lose because of that.
Jason Segel. How dare you?
I'm sorry that I could not remember. I missed.
You wrote the movie, you brought the
Do
Muppets
your
back.
research.
Oh, my bad. Michael Caine takes away from the movie. The human actors in the 2011 version take away from the movie. In mine, the human actors do not take away from the movie.
Yeah, because they're bad.
No,
Charles
they're
Dirty and Doug Hopper.
fantastic.
There's like no human actors in the Muppet. There's no memorable human characters besides like a cameo in the Muppet movie.
Okay.
Charles Dirty is
Are the Muppets supposed to be about the humans? No, they're
He's
supposed to
running
be
away
about the
because he's going to be a
Muppets.
frog
He's a mixture of
commercial.
both.
That's like part of the plot of the movie. That
The
plot is
Muppet
so
Show
strung
originally was
together.
based on having
And yeah,
these
it's
around.
a nice mixture of both, and that's what mine does so well. Yours, the human characters overtake the Muppets, and in Linus's, the human characters overtake
Yeah, but
the
in
Muppets.
the end, it's about the Muppets. Even in the sequel, which is not a very good movie, they're gone, and it doesn't even matter. The human characters disappear, and you're like, you don't even notice it. That's how they're memorable. But Walter is the one that's with them. He's the one that's above both of them. They're there to set up Walter. The whole thing with Scrooge and A Muppet Christmas Carol is
All right, that's
he's
fine.
way more prevalent.
Jesus,
and
it goes
it
by
takes away from the
so
Muppets.
fast when you're like really getting into
There's
it, to
three
be
of us.
honest.
Holy shit. All right, everybody take a breather.
Jesus Christ.
Energy drink that is not what you should be drinking.
I am legitimately fighting for my life.
Guys, let's just take this. You're fighting over little
Marionettes / puppets.
creatures with hands up their asses.
It's a big part of my Linus's life. Don't minimize this.
I'm surprised you didn't go for like an Empire Strikes Back, Andrew, if that would have been acceptable.
I would not have accepted that.
Yoda's in it. But,
I would not have accepted that.
Good.
All right, Jack, you're up first, man. Go ahead.
So cameos is not a good thing to make because that's the worst part. It's so gimmicky. Just saying, I love seeing this person appear. That's an easy like. It's just like, look at this, and it distracts from the movie. And a lot of those cameos were completely unused. The ones that had more like roles, great. But the other ones, like, how can you? Ooh, there's Kermit's going off. I'm throwing them to death. The Richard Pryor is completely useless. You can't take a talent like that and do nothing. And then the Muppets works fully off of nostalgia, and that's why people like it. It didn't have a big memorable impact, such as the Christmas show that bringing it back to my generation, making it such an important part of mine and many people that I know lives, and something we turn to every year. Saying that the Muppets are ignored and it's Michael Caine's thing, I think is part of the greatness. Muppets aren't ignored. They're everything around the movie. They're surrounding the whole world. They're placing the serious character and putting them in the Muppet world. And there's no challenge that any of the other movies had that, and they put it off, execute it so perfectly. And then you get what I think is the funniest and the scene I've watched most of anything, and it exhibits what works with the Muppets so well, is that there's this going on jelly bean bag going between Rizzo and Gonzo, who's the narrator, is functioning as Charles Dickens. And the one point he realizes after saying he couldn't find his jelly beans, they're in his pocket all along. And Gonzo just stares at him, and you get this one perfect, like 2-second pause. And then Rizzo just gives a sweet little kiss on Gonzo's long nose. And I'm giggling, I'm talking about, because this is that perfect, like simple, just joy and pleasantness of being around the Muppets, that you still are able to get those touches. That's why the Muppets are so important in that movie, to get those touches to work with that more serious play. Okay, it makes that version of it stick out from all the Christmas carols because they're able to make it original while still keeping true to Dickens and the meaning of it. And the Muppets work with that theme of being kind and living a life that you are proud of, that cares for others, which is what the Muppets were built around. And that's why that story works so perfectly. And only the Hensons would be able to come up with that concept. And Michael Caine's the best, and that's undebatable because he sticks out as such a serious. It's so hard to perform seriously. You see every other performer with this half smile when they have the Muppets around him. Michael Caine is a professional. He takes it so serious, and it helps form that balance of the goofiness all happening around it, and such that the serious Dickens part. Okay.
All right, Andrew, final arguments.
All right. I'll go back to what Zach said about nostalgia. Both of yours came out after mine. So the only reason that people care about it is because people remember the 1979 version better.
Or the Muppet Show.
Yeah, the Muppet
Okay,
Show.
let me argue. I mean, still, yours came out after mine. So the Muppet Show, that argument completely null and voids everything because the Muppet Show came first, and your movies came after my movie. With A Muppet's A Christmas Carol.
Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yeah. Michael Caine is not the best Scrooge. And it could have been done better, and it's not the best Christmas Carol movie. You don't remember any of the songs in it, which I think are a big part of the Muppets movies. And just it's a one that just it could have been done better, and the fact that Michael Caine takes away from the Muppets, that's what takes away from the movie. Michael Caine takes away from the Muppets. With
All right, and Linus.
Okay. No,
No, go ahead. If you have more.
Yeah, I was going to Linus, but
Go ahead.
I kind of forgot what I was going to say.
Realize.
That's why you need notes.
You good, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of forgot what I was going to say, so, whatever.
You were going to say The Christmas Carol is the best movie ever made.
No, well, I was going to just start knocking Linus's down. But,
Yeah,
right.
but I mean, it's so good.
All right, Linus. Go ahead.
The 2011 Muppet movie opens with such a scene, and you say that the human characters overshadow the Muppets, but Jason Segel and Amy Adams are so likable. They fit in so well with the Muppets. They almost feel like they're Muppets themselves. Like, no one questions why Walter and Gary live together because they're so connected. They're so, like, best friends that you don't even notice sometimes that they're different species. And Jason Segel even has to decide if he is a Muppet himself because he is so invested in these characters. It is such memorable songs, like Life's a Happy Song, Pictures in My Head. It's such and Man or a Muppet, of course. And you say it doesn't have a lasting impact. It brought a movie and it brought a TV show back. And people forgot about the Muppets for the most part until this came. Your school, that must be a place where everyone's like cynical if they don't like the 2011 Muppet movie, honestly. Because everyone likes the 2011 Muppet movie. It honestly brings a heartbreaking tale of when careers realize that no one really cares about them again, but a fan brings them all together while an oil company tries to destroy the studio. But they end up saving it because coming together as a Muppets, as a family, and that's what the Muppets are together. When I watch a Muppets A Christmas Carol, I don't watch it that often. That's not a go-to Christmas movie for me because it doesn't have the same Muppet feel as the other ones do, where they're all together for the whole time. Michael Caine is such a good Scrooge because he's acting against Muppets, and it's hard to tell. You can't really compare his performance to other ones because he's acting against marionettes and puppets. With the original Muppet movie, the plot, it doesn't really make much sense. It's just kind of thrown together. It's fun seeing the characters together, and it's nostalgic from the 70s. But honestly, the plot does not work well together. They just kind of come together. It's not even explained why they even meet. They're just like, oh, hey, want to go to Hollywood? Sure. And then that's kind of what happens. They go together. In the 2011, they have to convince people. They go to Paris for Miss Piggy, and she doesn't want to go with them. And she comes back later and saves them. This film, the 2011 Muppet movie, is an emotional story that brings people together. It's more than a Muppet movie. It shows about how things from your childhood can come back and don't have to go away and are still relevant in today's culture and can be still relevant in your life and can change your life. And Walter, that's just an amazing story for anyone who wants to live their dreams. It shows that you can, and he gets to become a Muppet. Waka waka.
Oh, okay.
Hey, look! The Rainbow
I
Connection!
want to waka waka away from your movies.
The Rainbow Connection in my movie.
This plays the Muppet Show song, but it's not working.
Oh, holy crap.
You finish the song
well,
while
just so I can kill some over some things that I fact checked. The two songs from the Muppets Christmas Carol, you said it's When Love Is Gone and then The Love We Found are the two.
No.
That's not the ones I meant.
See?
No, one more night.
Maybe there was one that I'm missing.
Yeah. One More Sleep to Christmas, and then I'm forgetting the name of the other one. But I do listen to them every Christmas season.
All right. Other stuff. You guys were arguing earlier about the Academy Award. Yeah. Man or Muppet did win Best Song in 2011. Its only opponent was Real in Rio from the movie Rio.
Yeah.
It still won.
Well,
I need 45 seconds to rant about the Oscars that year for 1 second. But when you're done.
Best Picture, the
meanwhile,
2011
Rainbow
Muppet
Connection
movie,
did
I
not
agree.
win the Oscar to It Goes Like It Goes from Norma Ray. I don't know what that is, honestly, but it didn't win.
Not as good as Man or a Muppet.
Excuse me.
Fantastic.
Also, Linus, you made a comment at the end there saying nobody dislikes the 2011 Muppets movie. According to Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 96% with 9 people not liking the movie. So you can hate those 9.
9 people out of how many people live in the world? Over like 8 billion. So.
213 critics reviewed it.
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying that, I didn't have facts.
I got you. Oh,
the majority.
Shit. Ended up being the best out of 5 out of the 3. What the fuck?
Why you think I can go on my rant about the Oscars?
We can play the...
Here's the thing. The one year that they decided to not have music performance at the Oscars when they could have had the freaking Muppets on stage, and they decided no performances this year. They ruined the whole. That would have been the best Oscars of the year. Why are you not taking advantage when you got the Muppets on stage? They all should have been fired for that. It's a stupid decision, and that's it. I'm done.
Well, the Oscars are stupid anyway. So
I'm a big fan of the Oscars.
I'm sure those prior sense.
I honestly think Pictures in My Head is better than Man or a Muppet. That should have won the Oscar.
I actually think I watched Muppets Most Wanted by Great Essays today, and I think that's the best music of any Muppet movie.
Why couldn't I have had you as a teacher?
The songs are so good.
Why don't you teach him this show?
Yeah, why could I have been in a Muppet class with Zach?
Okay. No. Okay. All joking aside now. Okay, also, we can just edit this part out. Subrath, it's private. That video's not coming out for another little bit. You know what? Honestly, I kind of gotta... It's because nobody had the opportunity to hit him back after he said it. Closing statement from Linus personified his entire argument and the amount of them put into that. That is one of the best speeches ever given on the show. I gotta give it to him just for that.
That's the correct
Waka Waka. Yeah, that's the one I went on.
Although I have to say, through most of the, I was with, until that ending, I was with Andrew simply because he had the most attack movie, and he was able to hit back just about every one of them. That was impressive, but
yeah, Andrew, good job with
passion
that.
like that.
Yeah, honestly, again, another one I did not expect to win, but damn, I tried my hardest.
I have not seen passion like that in one of these fights. Oh my god!
I love the 2011.
I mean, I love all 3 of them, to be 100%.
They are amazing. I love the Muppet movie.
Battleground.
I don't even care that the plot doesn't make sense in the Muppet movie. I love it.
Yeah, it's just so happy.
Yeah, I mean, the Muppets 2011 is my favorite, but we told you, Aaron, that we want to do an all Muppets Battleground. I think we just sold you on this now.
You saw my passion.
You guys have just sold me on some heart attack medication.
You know who else loves Muppets? Luca. Luca loves Muppets. We talked about it last trivia.
Yes.
Luca was watching. I don't know if he still is, but he was watching.
Luca should back whore in the Muppets just to balance it out.
I will personally skip out on the all Muppet movie Battleground, but
you don't want to judge?
You know what? If you can convince them to greenlight another movie, I'll give it to you.
I got more Muppet puppets.
That's an impossible task.
The Battleground.
What?
I got a Gonzo and I got a Kermit.
Jesus.
There's an animal one, but I didn't buy it.
All right. So we've just passionate fights. Let's shit on someone now.
Oh, I am ready to shit on this movie.
All movies. Just shit on all movies, Andrew. Help us out.
Time to hate on movies.
All right, so the original question was, what is the best of this director's filmography? But this seems like a fight, so I changed the question. What's the worst David Fincher movie? How great he is. Let's talk about what's not so great. Worst David Fincher. And with this one, we are going to go back to Andrew and start with him.
I still need
Go
to
ahead.
collect my bearings from the last fight, but here we go.
Okay, everybody have a good cry, and we'll just get back to this.
All right. I think 100% no-brainer answer for this one is Alien 3. And I'll tell you why. It does not have the feel of a David Fincher movie. It has no redeeming qualities of it. And I think even in the okay ones, you could find a redeeming quality in them. Alien 3 takes a franchise where it had 2 perfect movies and completely destroys it. It takes some beloved characters and, just they don't matter. Ellen Ripley, what she did in Aliens, it completely gets wasted in Alien 3. This movie is such an abomination. It's so boring. It is a shame that a fantastic director like David Fincher directed this.
All right, Linus, we're gonna.
All right.
And no, Isaac, he did not pick that.
I went with the weirdest David Fincher film, and that is The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. And this is also kind of personal. I don't like this movie. I think it's weird. I don't think any of the characters are really likable. I mean, Benjamin Button is sort of likable, but that's kind of because he's put in the protagonist role. And a lot of films, it's hard to dislike the protagonist. You know, Kate Winslet's character is so like annoying, and she's unlikable. It's just a very weird film. It doesn't feel like David Fincher. It's the first PG-13 film he ever made, and the technology's okay, but like it's Brad Pitt. It's such a weird film. None of the characters are really likable. I don't really David Fincher. It's not a good film. I don't know.
All right, and Zach, go ahead.
So David Fincher has a comfort zone that he's really known for, and those are those deep, brooding thrillers, mysteries with that dark tone. So what should have been in his reel bag is Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, and he just completely just blew it. It was just such a great bore. He wastes everything he has. It's a great book, a great story that's already made into a really well-liked Swedish movie, and this was the chance for him to bring it to America, and that's why they never made a sequel, because no one caught on to it. Everything lacked all charisma that was there in any of the actors. Daniel Craig, who has this brutal charisma, and James Bond should have been perfect for this, and he's so boring. There's no sex appeal, sexiness in the relationship between the two main characters. And the villain at the end, once again, spoilers, Stellan Skarsgård, who looks like a perfect thing to be this kind of professional looking person who turns villain, and that also is just wasted. It's boring. It's not creepy at all. It's not dark at all. And no one should be able to remember this Swedish movie more, being that like the director has gone on to do, I don't know, and New York Pace is kind of around, but you had a bigger director. It should have been this big franchise that he just completely just dropped the bucket on. And it was everything that he was meant to do. So it has no excuse. And I don't want to see a sequel. So that's why they haven't made it, because it was so bad. And he has a great musicians, again, who did such a great job with him, with Atticus Ross, Atticus Ross, right, and Trent Reznor together. That did so good on Social Network, and they did this, but I have no memory of what the score is at all, and it just kind of faded into the background. It's just, a bore. The other ones might be weird, but weird and interesting is much more fun than just being plain boring.
That is it. We're gonna go on to the fight once again. Also, I just got to do a quick fact check, just because I know this off the top of my head and I found it funny. Do you know what the original director of Dragon Tattoo just recently did?
No, I have no idea.
The Flatliners remake.
Thank you for helping out my argument.
That's the Swedish one, not Fincher, but
yeah, help.
I mean, let's
All
be
right.
honest. If David Fincher directed Flatliners, I'm pretty sure one of us would be arguing for that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, you might have made it great. I don't know.
All right, let's continue, guys.
All right, are we starting?
Yep, go.
I think with Alien 3, it was his first movie. Like, he didn't really find his style yet. It's not a good movie, but it's not like a David Fincher movie. It's just like a movie he
That's why it's so bad.
It's
Because
actually also not bad.
He just kind of was like put in front of a camera and he's like, do this. He didn't find his style. After
all
Fight
David
Club, after
Fincher
Seven,
movies-
after all that, he found his style. Then you go back to Benjamin Button, and you're like, "This is what you did." This weird movie about some guy aging backwards with dislikable character. That's kind of like a worse version of Forrest Gump. But Alien 3, no one knew who David. There wasn't a disappointment factor in Alien 3.
Yeah, there was a
rated
very big
on-
disappointment factor in Alien 3 because it came after the masterpiece known as Alien and the masterpiece known as Aliens. And
That's
you know,
the problem. It's not a bad movie. It's rated on this.
It is a
rated on
terrible
an unfair
movie.
scale because people had such high hopes. So an okay movie to the mega fans is horrible. That doesn't make it horrible. It was just coming after movies that were so great. Then if it doesn't reach those expectations, people jump to the gun and kind of exaggerate how bad it is. It's not that bad. You said Ripley, it ruins. It gives her a full story and an ending. And it's a risky movie. It has some. It kills off one of the most loved new characters in Newt pretty early on.
yeah, and Newt was that's one of the big problems. It ruins things like Newt, like Ripley, and
it keeps you off guard and not wanting to redo everything that's already been done. The Aliens movie is just like Prometheus, or the most recent Alien one did, just rehash.
This
It didn't rehash.
the bottom line.
And with the Alien movie, you get Aliens versus fucking Predators after that.
Yeah, and that's a bad movie too. Let's take out Alien and Aliens for a second. It's still a boring movie. That is.
It has more likable characters than Benjamin Button.
Listen,
That boy.
hold on.
Benjamin Button's a great movie, also. Let's move.
Yeah,
Benjamin Button
Benjamin Button has got nominated for Best Picture, and David Fincher got nominated for Best Director. Brad Pitt got nominated for Best Actor. Tahaja Henson.
Henson.
Yeah, nominated for Best Supporting Actress. With The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Rooney Mara got nominated for Best Actress. So the fact, what?
Yeah, I think she got rated extra high because they knew Rapace's performance. So it was like, let's give it to the American.
Listen,
It's
I think
it's the same.
I think that those two are a hell of a lot more better directed because David Fincher was able to direct great performance out of both of those movies. While in this one, he is not able to get a good performance out of anybody.
Because he wasn't really allowed to direct it. The studio controlled this movie. It was a studio movie.
Yeah, it wasn't really his film.
He did his foot in the door, and he did an okay job for being his first one after music videos. He gets a girl on Dragon Tattoo. He's supposed to be at the best he is, and like something that's right in his reality. Sorry. He drops it completely. Aliens is a testing ground. Curious Case of Benjamin Button, not in his wheelhouse, is a risk and does such an amazing job. He creates this epic romance that we haven't really seen well done since the 60s and 70s.
Epic romance.
Honestly, it's something I
Kate
watch.
Winslet's not likable though. How can it be an epic romance if you don't like one of the characters?
I do like them. I think their chemistry is really well, and I find them charming. They have this southern charm behind them.
Yeah,
that's super biased, but there's a huge fan base for that movie.
Yeah, I think, like I said, David Fincher is able to direct. Benjamin Button, I think, out of the three of these, is the best directed.
Yeah,
by far, best directed.
Best directed and just the best movie.
And
Best
I
with the
think
Dragon
Girl with the
Tattoo.
Dragon. It's unfairly hated because it's a remake. I think it has biased against it because people love the original. People like it's bad. It's a decent movie. It's a good film.
And David Fincher is still able. And David Fincher is still able to direct it very well.
No, it's boring. He has no life to it.
So is Aliens 3.
Aliens 3 is not his fault. It is the screenplay. He
did like the best he could with that, honestly.
Tattoo has a great
and the best he could, and the best. Yeah, he did the best he could.
I don't blame
and the
him
best
for
he
that
could
film.
do with it was absolute dog shit.
I don't blame him for that though.
It's not. It's dog shit because you liked Aliens and you had high expectations.
Okay,
you blame him for Benjamin Button.
Take the first two Aliens, Aliens movies out of it, it's still gonna be the same boring movie that is so bad. Just because
I don't think so. I think people will find something to like about it because it's more interesting, more like kind of philosophical ideas.
Sigourney Weaver is always great, so you have that.
Yeah. Sigourney Weaver was not great in this movie. She should have been great, but she wasn't.
Great.
You can obviously see that Sigourney Weaver does not care.
You still have the set designs of Aliens to make it interesting.
David Fincher, he was put into that. Like, he was given that movie as his first big studio movie, his first movie at all. I don't blame him for that. That was the studio. Like, it was a puppet. He was a puppet during that film.
Yeah, and if you're going to bring up Oscars as an argument, Andrew, Alien 3 did get nominated for Best Visual Effects. Fact check me on that, please, Eric. But guess what visual effects
is. And I'm not saying visual effects mean nothing, but
that's David more directory oriented. That's what he has more control over.
Yeah, but it is harder. It is harder to direct a great performance out of somebody than to direct visual effects.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah, he directed
I'm sure he had
great
more
performance out of Rooney Mara. He directed a great performance out of Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt is just a great actor, though. I don't know if that was much so his directing. With
but he still got a Best Directing Oscar for
it's David Fincher.
If it was David,
Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, he did not get Best. That was after that, right when he's in his prime.
But it is still a hell of a lot better directed movie. And if he just got nominated for just being David Fincher, where's his nomination for Fight Club? Where's his nomination for Seven?
It's like the pity thing the Oscars do, that they give it to him later and stuff, you know? The whole Training Day Denzel Washington situation.
Yeah?
But no, Curious Case of Benjamin Button got nominated for tons of stuff. I think makeup, cinematography.
So did Crash.
It won for
so
makeup.
Did Godfather 3. Bad movies have been nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
The Oscars aren't always Oscars aren't the end all be all of everything.
No,
Oscars aren't
yes, you're right, they're not. But the fact of the matter is,
that's another example of Alien 3. Godfather 3, it's fine. People hate it because they had such high expectations of Godfather 1, Godfather 2. It's the same thing for Aliens. It's really hard to live up to those expectations.
But Godfather 3 is a hell of a lot better third movie than Alien 3. Alien 3.
Well, of course, it's the Godfather. Still, you know, Alien 3.
If anything, the Godfather 3
Francis Ford Coppola.
Hold on.
You already remembered a lot more about Aliens 3 and Curious Case of Benjamin Button. They won't remember about Girl with Dragon Tattoo because it's just a slog.
Daniel Craig is so good that he's not coming back for the sequel, and people are disappointed because his performance was so well.
They're disappointed because They're
disappointed because David Fincher did such a great job. That's why they're so disappointed.
They want him to come back.
David Fincher does such a great job with that movie. People want to see more. Nobody wanted to see more after Alien 3.
They want that story to thrive.
Right, that's time.
No one went and saw the movie. You can't say people want to see it. It made not compared to his money for other movies. It didn't make that much.
Time, Zach.
Ugh, I gotta watch my mouth. Sorry, I swear a little too much of that.
I mean, who cares?
My goal is that my 7th graders never find these videos. I'm only part of it because it's maintained small. If it got big, I have to quit.
Yeah, I think they'd enjoy seeing a teacher scream at something.
Scream about the Muppets.
Yo, did you see this? Did you see this awesome video of our teacher arguing about why Muppets are awesome?
Oh, there's already a weird video of me like drumming on a cardboard box online. That was a joke for me and my friend that all my kids see. It's just like me in Minnesota in the cabin, lonely, like shouting with a box in my chest. They don't need more ammo. I have to limit my footprint.
Yes, we are going to go to closing arguments first.
I lost my ready ring. Okay.
Good.
Who?
Oh, it's me? Oh, I honestly, just... I forgot what number question this was.
Yeah.
My bad. Okay, let me just compose myself real quick. All right.
Wow, this is
okay.
Stressful. Alien, Jesus.
Like I said, David Fincher has a certain style. Alien 3 does not have that style. It is a boring movie with boring performances, poorly paced, boring, just terrible writing. With The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, It's a fantastic story with great performances. That David Fincher, I think we can all agree, out of these 3 movies, this is the best directed David Fincher movie. So, then how could that be the worst if David Fincher directed this the best out of these 3? With The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, or The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. People are so disappointed why there isn't going to be a sequel because of how great Daniel Craig was, how great Rooney Mara was, and how great Fincher was with that movie. Alien 3, people forget that it is a David Fincher movie. People forget that this movie even exists. And if this movie was, as good as these, it would be just as remembered.
All right, Linus, you're up next.
All right, with The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, it's honestly like kind of a worse version of Forrest Gump. People just come in and out of the story, and they're not memorable. You honestly can't name many characters besides Benjamin Button in the film. There's Kate Winslet's character, who's annoying. David Fincher directs it as a PG-13 film, but he doesn't feel like his passion is as in it as he is in some of the other films. With The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, it is looked at as the remake, and people are like always have the bad sense about remakes. No one ever likes them. But I've seen that film on lists of best American remakes of foreign films. That film is well liked by lots of people, and people do like Benjamin Button. I don't think the story works very well together. I don't think the characters flow together to make a great overall film. And I think when you're looking back at David Fincher's filmography, you see Benjamin Button, and that's not a film like you want to go back to. Alien 3 is a bad film in a franchise, which was a misstep, and David Fincher just happened to be a part of it because it was his first film and it was a studio film. It's not like he personally messed up that film. I don't blame him for that. It was his first try up at the bat, and it didn't go so well. And that was more the writing, that was more the studio than that was actually him. I'm sure if he was directing an Alien film, it would be way better than that. I don't think that's his full potential in an Alien universe. Not that he would ever come back or ever want to come back, but I don't think that was his full potential, and I don't think that's the directing performance he can give.
All right, Zach.
So Curious Case of Benjamin Button seriously is my second favorite David Fincher movie. It is completely beautiful. I rewatched the sequence today where Kate Blanchett is hit by a car and Brad Pitt is discussing kind of all the momentary coincidences that make up a tragedy. And I was tearing up by this 3-minute sequence watching on YouTube because it is the most heartfelt, romantic, philosophical thing that he was able to really throw out there without being in the themes that he's used to. He went out of his comfort zone and made just an utterly beautiful romance that I think for the length of it is easily to return to. Another movie that people return to a lot is Aliens 3 because people love the franchise. They're completists and they suckers for these monsters, and it's really not that horrible. If they're going to talk about a horrible alien movie that killed it, is Alien versus Predator. They tried again, and that was just complete trash. Dave Fincher is still able to have some visual skills that even showed with the visual effects Oscar that really shows where he was going to be able to grow from that. And then you get to the Girl Dragon Tattoo when he's in his prime, and he tries to execute everything the same way, but for some reason it's like the worst possible outcome of what he can do. It's his brutal, brooding tone done to such a low key where I'm pretty sure I did fall asleep. And it was based on such a great screenplay that he had all the fertile ground to make it. He could have made a franchise, and no one saw it because it was boring, and so they weren't able to make something. Same people wanted it to be made for the future that they really want. It has nothing to do with David Fincher. It has to do with that they love these books. They're top best-selling books. They want to see this franchise done. That's why they're recasting what's her face from The Crown as the new Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. They failed on this, and they admitted they failed on it, and there's no reason for this. And I don't know what list you're looking at for best remakes. You're so good at dumb lists.
I've seen it before.
But yeah, yeah, fuck. I had the Andrew Cobb. I ran out of my thoughts. Yeah.
Oh God. Okay, here we go again. Again, great round, guys. I'm just trying. Okay, so the one thing I was gonna say was obviously the Oscars are not the end all be all of anything, but the point about Curious Case of Benjamin Button having Oscar was nominated and won for some of these. For Best Supporting Actress, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Film Editing, Best Cinematography, Best Art Direction, Best Costume Design, Original Score, Best Sound,
and they're all great.
Effect.
Yeah.
Visual in that movie, but that was not a point that was made.
Yeah. I'm
trying to find. Okay, so I was trying to do a quick research, see if I could find that put it on there as a remake, but I didn't have enough time. But unfortunately, this one was actually probably the easiest of them for me, because for one movie, the only legitimate point that either person made against it, and I know one said it for sure, I don't remember if the other said this, was the fact that the movie has hate against it because of a pre-bias, because it is a remake of a movie. Other than that, set against that's a good movie or better than the other two. Guys did a good tag teaming in on the other movies, which Zach was a part of. I gotta give Zach the point on this one. I think he pulled it out. So that was a close fight once again. So
my heart was not in that one, really.
Well,
you had a big hill to climb.
Yeah, I mean, those are the two bad Fincher movies per se. I
actually have never seen Alien, so Alien 3.
I've never seen Alien 3 either.
It is honestly by far the worst.
I read the Wikipedia plot summary of it. That was all I studied up in for that. I wasn't going to watch it.
After an intense 4 rounds, we are moving on to the 5th and final round. So here's the way it is. Andrew, you are still in the fight. You can still fight to earn a point and leave this match with something. But due to Linus and Zach, they are going on to the speed round. There's no way. But we do still have an interesting fight round. And the question is, what is our Wahlberg movie? And for this one, we are going to go and start with Linus. What is the best Mark Wahlberg movie?
Now, I got screwed before with saying this isn't a so-and-so movie, but I don't want to... Mark Wahlberg is in this movie. He is starring in this movie. It is not what is the best movie with Mark Wahlberg in a leading role. It is what is the best Mark Wahlberg movie. This is a movie with Mark Wahlberg. It's a Mark Wahlberg movie. And this movie is The Departed, which I think is one of Martin Scorsese's best films. And you could argue that Mark Wahlberg's playing Mark Wahlberg in this film. He kind of is, but it's an amazing version of Mark Wahlberg. So that it earned him an Oscar nomination for the role. He has such an intensity about this way. And if you see, there's one scene where him and Leonardo DiCaprio are by the river, and he's kind of like screaming about getting a fight. He's such an intense Boston, just plays it so well in such an intense way, and it's the best performance he's ever given. Even if he's playing a more intense version of himself, he does it phenomenally, and this role was made for him, and I couldn't see anyone else in this role.
All right. Zach?
So, two great qualities of Mark Wahlberg they had is kind of this Boston, everybody, hey, it's me, friendly guy around the neighborhood that you want to have a pizza and a beer with. But he also has this kind of masculinity that can come out. One of the movies that exhibits that the best is The Fighter. Now, The Fighter has a great cast all around, and a lot of people that got a lot of notice, mostly on Christian Bale, but he is the glue that sticks it together. You don't care about any of these people's story if you didn't care about Mark Wahlberg, because their lives revolve around him. They carry him, and he's the story that you're invested in. And he has this wanting to please everybody persona that we love in Mark Wahlberg, but then he goes and he kicks ass in the ring, and he has the physicality to pull it off. You believe he is a boxer, and he can easily hit his everybody thinks could easily fall into being dopey, and he avoids that dopiness by proving it in the ring. If you went too far that way, you wouldn't believe anything else, and you wouldn't care about the characters around him. Because like, why are you supporting this nonsense? None of this makes sense. And he has great chemistry with the family and with Amy Adams. That relationship is super believable, especially for that Boston setting. They're both able to like de-Hollywood themselves a little bit and seem like Boston locals and seem like they're people who are falling in love and having the issues of balancing out the family and all this. And it all just seems very authentic, which is something when he is in his best is something he can do very well.
All right. And we're going to move on to and arguments.
Okay, my best Wahlberg, my pick for best Mark Wahlberg movie is Boogie Nights. Now, Boogie Nights, on paper, it kind of sounds like stupid and weird. It's a movie about making porn, but when you watch it, you realize how it's a movie, like I said, that shouldn't work, but it 100% works. It's arguably Mark Wahlberg's breakthrough performance, and it has a great ensemble cast with Burt Reynolds, Julianne Moore. You got Philip Seymour Hoffman, Don Cheadle's in it, and John C. Reilly's in it. All give great performances, and the pacing. It's probably one of the best. Probably one of the best paced movies like ever. It's a 2.5 hour movie, and it just paced so phenomenally well. You don't feel the runtime.
Is get into it. Time starts when you guys start.
Right, so Boogie Nights is everything wrong with Mark Wahlberg that I said where he could go wrong. His dopey side super comes out, and there's no reason he's as dopey. He's supposed to have some of that naivety, but not like where you think he's like he couldn't even be in that scene. It's not believable. He has a big dick. Where's the confidence? He has a giant dick. He should be walking around with the swagger a little bit, at least a little bit of swagger that's like within him. And the reason that movie works so well is not him. He's the worst part of it. It's the world that they put around him. It's interesting. You're viewing the scene, and he's the like viewer being put into it, and it's not a role that anyone cares about.
Yeah.
It's putting you into the scene. And then for The Departed, he just swears and shouts the whole time. There's no kind of tonal variability to it. There's no complexity of performance. It's just this comedic thing where he just shouts and people like it because swear words are funny. And it creates a huge tonal problem with the movie. It kind of throws you out into just this loud, brass kind of, in like a Boston insult compared to this like Boston authenticity. I cannot even say the word now. Authenticity that you see in The Fighter, and then the Boogie Nights also kind of lacks the authenticity because you can't really see that character, surviving in that scene. He didn't have confidence to survive there.
I think the characters in Boogie Nights are just so fantastic. They're
the characters, all the other characters except Mark Wahlberg, they're also great.
But this isn't about best Mark Wahlberg character, best Mark Wahlberg performance. This is about the best Mark Wahlberg movie as a whole.
You have to add something to the movie.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg adds everything to Boogie Nights.
He adds something to.
Mark Wahlberg adds everything to Boogie Nights. Without Mark Wahlberg, or just his character,
blank-faced bozo and throw him in that role. Just go.
Well,
yes, and you can't do that with The Departed. His role in The Departed, he plays such a strict.
Everyone can swear out.
No one can play. He said he swore and laughed his way to an Oscar, but he did that to an Oscar nomination. His performance.
He did it because he was out of the nowhere.
But this isn't about the best. This isn't about best.
It's not about his performance. It's about the movie.
Yeah.
Martin Scorsese did a fantastic film remaking Infernal Affairs, better than the original Infernal Affairs, with an amazing cast with Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Jack Nicholson, Alec Baldwin, all playing this fantastic world of being corrupt cops, corrupt criminals, seeing that world of that crime area portrayed so well in one of Martin Scorsese's absolute best films with absolute amazing characters, amazing performances. And Mark Wahlberg was the one out of the movie that was nominated for an Oscar. His performance was so good and elevated that film so well.
But
You can change the semantics of the question to your whim, because we were doing best David Fincher movie. You said it has to be David Fincher-esque.
That's how the fight works, my
That's the best Mark Wahlberg-esque. I'm saying the best movie completely, but also it has to have some reason to be affected by him. If fucking shows up in like Day Night, because this 2-minute scene he is great.
I agree. Zach, I agree with that statement. Mark Wahlberg does not really affect The Departed all too much. Not saying that he doesn't affect the movie. I'm just saying that he doesn't affect it as much as he does in Boogie Nights and The Fighter.
But he's in it.
Yeah,
in The Fighter.
Are you listening to what I'm saying?
Yes,
I'm saying,
I am.
No, I'm busy writing notes.
Okay, listen. In The Fighter, it's oh Jesus Christ!
Your word is great. It's great.
No, yes, it's
It's
great.
not as
but
well remembered as
it is great, but it is not as great as Boogie Nights. Boogie Nights put Mark Wahlberg on the map, put Paul Thomas Anderson on the map. It finally, if we're gonna talk Oscar nominations, finally got Burt Reynolds his Oscar nomination, gave Julianne Moore an Oscar nomination.
He won 2 for Fighter. You want to talk Oscars? It won 2.
Yeah, and if we're talking about the movie as a whole, I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Boogie Nights won for best screenplay.
It has nothing to do with anything either.
Yeah,
talking about Oscars, The Departed and Oscars.
Yeah, that's not an argument. But Mark Wahlberg had such a difficult challenge in The Fighter because he has these big performances around it. It would be so easy for him to go big and we get lost. But he holds the ground and it helps that movie create such an authentic feel. It is the best movie of all these because it balances more grounds. It keeps a more
I think
tonal loss. Like Departed is a tonal loss.
You want to talk about difficult task as with Mark Wahlberg? He has to act alongside Julianne Moore, Philip Seymour Hoffman, John C. Reilly, and Burt Reynolds, who are all fantastic actors, and he's able to hold his own.
No, he seems like
he's able to act against Jack Nicholson, Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, and he's the one that got an Oscar nomination.
He was the one that got the nomination.
Out of all those fantastic.
He doesn't share a team with half of those people, so he's not acting against them.
He has scenes with almost all of them.
And the
scene with Leonardo DiCaprio in the river, he's such a well-performed.
The point I'm trying to make, the point I'm trying to make is this wasn't his first movie that he acted in, but he was still by the time this movie came out, he was still new to acting. By the time The Departed and The Fighter came out, he was a
that's
veteran.
why it was bad.
No one really took him seriously as an actor until films like The Departed, though.
He was not bad in Boogie Nights. By the time The Departed came out and by the time The Fighter came out, he already had experience. So it's no surprise that he's able to hold his own against those caliber actors.
I want to fact check this. I'm pretty sure his rape movie with Reese Witherspoon came out before that.
He's not saying it's his first movie.
Yeah, I said it wasn't his first. I'm just saying this, like, he was still sort of new.
Yeah, but no one really looked at that movie and said, wow, that's a fantastic actor there. They still kind of looked at him as Marky Mark. Departed, they look at him and they're like,
Boogie Nights put him on the map.
Being Marky Mark put him
on the map.
Being Marky Mark and the Funky Punch put him on the map.
Boogie Nights
it further cemented why Julianne Moore is great. It further cemented why Burt Reynolds
It brought Jack Nicholson back in The Departed. Jack Nicholson gave him a fantastic role again.
But Jack Nicholson's given Jack Nicholson's given better performances. Jack Nicholson's been in better movies.
I'm not saying that was Jack Nicholson's best performance.
And so is Leo.
I'm not saying that's their best performance. It's the best overall movie that features Mark Wahlberg, though. Because of all those actors, all the plot elements, and all the intricacy of each character, knowing that they don't want to be a part of this world, that they are not have the jobs that they have to do, but they are forced into doing this. There's so complexity, and it's performed so well. And Mark Wahlberg performs it with such an intensity. He is playing a version of himself, yes, but this was a movie where people looked at him and thought, wow, this guy has actual dramatic chops, and he's actually one of the great actors. Where Boogie Nights, he does a great performance, but no one thinks of him as an Oscar-nominated caliber actor from Boogie Nights.
Did you say okay, Aaron? I thought you were trying to end it.
Yeah. Linus was gonna go was first for close. If you have anything to add, just do your closing now.
All right. So I guess that's kind of part of my closing, what I was just saying there. But with the fighter, I don't honestly think the fighter is that memorable for a Mark Wahlberg film. Yes, he is in it, but I always think of Christian Bale and his performance. You can argue that same point with The Departed, but I think Mark Wahlberg's performance is so noticeable, and that's when you look at him as a dramatic actor with the Oscar nomination, with playing that Boston cop that he did, with being corrupt like he was, the way he performs it. It's one of Martin Scorsese's best films. It's my second best film from Martin Scorsese, and that's saying a lot, as Martin Scorsese is one of the greatest directors of all time. And Boogie Nights is a fun film, but it's nothing compared to the almost masterpiece that The Departed is. The Fighter is a fun film with good concepts, and it's a great dramatic story with great characters and great relationships. I just think The Departed does concepts and relationships and people putting in place and people having to do things that they are not proud of. I think The Departed does that way better, and I think The Departed is known as a classic film that went above the remake, which is a problem with a lot of other films, and it gave so many Oscar wins, so many Oscar nominations. It's just such a great overall film.
All right, Zach, go ahead.
So, the part we can argue the semantics of best movie, best Wahlberg movie. I'm trying to combine the both, best Wahlberginess and the best movie. And The Fighter is such a great movie, and he is the anchor for that. That's why it makes it so best. He is carrying that movie. You have these wild performances that would seem extra over the top. Some people already thought they were over the top, but he kind of brings it down to earth and brings the authenticity for that, and that was using that persona in the best way it could have been. And that was kind of David O. Russell's comeback and probably his best movie, one of his best movies he's ever made. And that's when you really started thinking of Mark Wahlberg as a serious lead actor. That's point actor, because that also, it's just a scene stealing thing. It's a joke in The Departed. He's just shouting, and I don't think there's any dramatic heft that he has to carry. In Boogie Nights, he does have dramatic heft to carry, and he drops it completely. Luckily, everything else around it can help it out, but that helps him not being as great as that movie could have been, and doesn't age super well, because that kind of created the joke persona of him. I'm talking a lot about Mark Wahlberg's persona, but everything that we make fun of, either as impressions or everything, kind of comes from his, like, oh, Boogie Nights. And it doesn't fit the character. He needed to have a little bit of naivety, but some sort of strength and confidence that would be in that. And that's what Mark Wahlberg does best, is combine the naivety and humbleness and friendliness with a bit of strength put in there, which is The Fighter exhibiting. And you have the great, it runs the genre of being drama and being a family genre, and that's what you really, really care about and are involved with. And then you have the sports thing that he can completely pull off, and that makes it kind of have mass appeal. And it's super exciting through the boxing scenes, and he's able to pull off the drama and the boxing, and that's a hard thing to do. And he is what makes that movie the best of all three. Cheers.
Can you repeat that last sentence there?
Is that candle?
No, I'm just drinking some water.
Yeah, I ran out of my drink a long, long time ago.
Yeah, I got another one during our break.
All right, Andrew, go ahead, man.
Okay. Boogie Nights. Because we're not just talking about the Mark Wahlberg performance, we're talking about the movie as a whole. It's a wholly original movie that puts not only Mark Wahlberg on the map, puts Paul Thomas Anderson on the map, which Boogie Nights is Paul Thomas Anderson's best movie. And it further cements why, veteran actors like Julianne Moore and Burt Reynolds, and, why they're great. It also gives great performances by Don Cheadle, John C. Reilly, and Philip Seymour Hoffman. Has so many fantastic moments, and just the writing is fantastic. Every aspect about this film is just so great.
Okay. All right. To try and figure this one out. All right, first off, just want to say, all 5 rounds tonight, you guys have been really, really good.
Yeah, this is the best fight I think I've been in.
It's so, honestly, so draining, to be honest, but it's been great.
I'm ready for bed.
This triple threat is, yeah.
I'm sorry
Alright,
for selling out the corner.
Okay, so here's where I'm at with this. Okay, I think despite the kind of back and forth argument on the semantics of the question, I think all of you did a good job justifying why Mark Wahlberg works within the context of your film. Despite the argument of the semantic of, it's Wahlberg with the movie, or it's just best movie, or it's best Wahlberg, despite the semantic that you can argue with the question is best Mark Wahlberg movie, and I do think all of you did a good enough job in explaining why Wahlberg works within the context of your film. So then it comes down to, outside of that, who argued the best for their movie outside of the Wahlberg portion of it, which I do think all of you did really well. And I think Linus did it the best.
Oh, all right.
In that round. I think, aside from the arguing the semantic of Wahlberg, which I think he did a good enough job of proving what Wahlberg's purpose in that movie is, if you're basing your arguments on arguing for Boogie Nights or arguing for The Departed or arguing for The Fighter, I think Linus did the best job of arguing it out of the three. Right now, we're going to move on to the speed round between Linus and Zach. The score is currently 3 to Linus and 2 to Zach. And we're going to go into the first question, which is, I'm going to name you 2 movies that have some relation to each other, and you're going to pick which one better answers the question.
Okay.
The question that I'm asking is, which in this comedy franchise is the worst movie? Hangover Part 2 or Hangover Part 3?
Hangover Part 3.
Okay, fine.
All right, Linus said Hangover Part 3. That means Zach is going to have Hangover Part 2. Let me get my timer back up. The same as always, 20 and 10. Linus, your time starts when you begin speaking.
I'm one of the few people who actually defends Hangover Part 2. I think it's still a fun movie. It does take a lot from the original, but the original is so good that putting it in a different environment still works, and the chemistry between the characters still work. With Hangover Part 3, it's a completely different movie that doesn't work very well. They add characters like Melissa McCarthy, which is stupid and doesn't work very well. They decapitate a giraffe, which is unpleasant, and it has this weird, sad...
Time. All right, Zach, go ahead.
So Hangover 3 at least tried something different. It tried to give some emotional hubs and took a different route of the story. Hangover 2 took the same exact formula and fucked it all up. You put it in a different country. That was all they settled for. Everything else followed the same thing, but with more crassness, and kind of was offensive to Thailand. It made it look like a land of heathens. At least Hangover 3 tried to add some character depth with Zach Galifianakis. Okay.
All right. Linus, 10 seconds on the clock when you're ready.
The Hangover Part 3 plot is stupid, Alan. It doesn't really work very well with that dramatic element. Hangover Part 2 still works. The characters are still funny, and you still have the same environment. And the whole Doug, they play jokes that it is kind of ripping and doing the exact same sequel. And the Thailand environment works.
Zach, go ahead.
Hangover 2 was working off a high of Hangover 1, and it just left a dirty smell. It makes me not even want to watch Hangover 1. Hangover 3, the franchise always lost. At least this made something interesting to go with it, because it was already torn apart by how just offensive and horrible Hangover 2 was, dropping that whole formula.
Arguing which is worse, a rehash or something original that didn't quite work. A better job of defending it. The point goes to Zach on that question.
All right.
My cat's going crazy, by the way. That's why I keep cracking up. He just tore down all my coats now.
All right. So here's the deal. So this 3 to 3. Okay. You guys need to take, one of you needs to take the next 2 points to win. If you each win a point, then we have a tiebreaker question that we're going to have to go to. Okay?
All right.
All right. The next question is in the Jason Bourne franchise.
I'll go with Identity. I'll go Bourne Identity.
I'll go Supremacy.
Okay. All right, so Identity versus Supremacy. Got it. All right, so Zach, you said it first this time, so you're going to go first for Bourne Identity. 20 seconds on the clock when you start speaking.
Okay, Bourne Identity started everything that you love about the franchise. Started this kind of James Bond, but a little more brutal, a little more serious, and a little more mystery behind who he is, and made Matt Damon an action star. The other movies just kind of carried off at this time that was do it, but this is what created the formula and started everything that you're interested in, and it created this action star out of Damon that you didn't think would expect because it kicks ass.
All right, Linus.
Paul Greengrass takes upon the franchise and makes it even better and makes it more intense. You get more performances out of Matt Damon in Supremacy, and you have more of a complex story. And with Jason Bourne dealing with what he does, the legacy is more of a setup film, and Paul Greengrass takes the franchise to a new level. He takes the franchise over for himself. He's the director you look at with a franchise, and he took it over, and he did a much better job and made it more complex and gave the character a lot more motivation and made it more interesting.
All right, 10 seconds on the clock for Zach.
Okay, so Bourne Supremacy was just finding the middle ground to lead up to Bourne Automaton, which is Paul Greengrass's better movie. Okay, Paul Greengrass also has the hand camera that makes it dizzy, especially when there goes that much action. Lyman is a clean director who does action great. It was perfect for that franchise. There would be no movies if it wasn't for that.
All right, Linus, I'll give you an extra 2 seconds because he did go over a little bit there.
It did cut off a little for him, so I didn't hear all of it from my end.
Okay, I could hear it.
Okay.
Yeah.
With Supremacy, it does better, and the shaky cam works better because it gives it a unique feel, where Legacy feels like it was just taken from other spy movies and not being so unique. Ultimatum gives it itself a unique film, and it stands on its own as a better film, and Paul Greengrass, and they wanted him to come back.
Time.
You kept saying Legacy, Linus.
It's to succeed.
I think I know what he means. He means Identity. He was just... They get really confusing after a while.
Yeah, to be 100% honest, they
talked
do.
about. And I mean, with the exception of Jason Bourne, and that one's probably the worst anyways, so... You know what? Even though it personally isn't my favorite, I think Linus made the better argument. I'm going to give it to Linus on that one.
I've never seen
any
Bourne film. I've never seen it either.
Honestly, I could say I know Ultimatum is the
I didn't know which one Ultimatum was. It was just the only title.
Yeah, honestly, Ultimatum is.
Have neither of you ever seen one?
No.
I'll say this: Ultimatum is like regarded by a lot of people to be the best, but personally, I like Identity the best.
Yeah, I was Identity's my favorite.
I knew Paul Greengrass. All I knew about that was Paul Greengrass.
I have to say for
I liked it for that.
Both your arguments actually kind of made sense for the movie. So
I'm gonna be honest. I was convinced that both of you really genuinely like these movies.
Yeah, I was convinced. Like you were hitting some points.
Yeah.
Besides confusing the movie title at the end, you guys are all right.
I wasn't arguing a specific film.
That's why I wanted to pull out because I was convinced he hasn't seen him either, and he just kept kind of Legacy.
I was gonna maybe go Legacy, but I thought I could do a Greengrass argument, so I was just waiting.
Good job,
right.
Linus.
All right, going into this next question. If Linus gets the point, he wins. If Zach gets it, we go to a tiebreaker. The third question is, and I have to stress, this is, I'm counting both movies on this, so if you have a question about the specifics of it, I will confirm what counts and what doesn't.
All right.
Who is the best Guardian of the Galaxy?
Drax.
Rocket.
Ooh.
Okay. Rocket, Linus, you did have it. And I'm going to give you guys 30-20 on this one just because there is a possible win in contention here. So 30 seconds on the clock when you start speaking.
When you look at the first Guardians of the Galaxy, Drax is the absolute standout. He comes from a sadder backstory. He's the strongest character of them all. He's the funniest. Dave Bautista did such a surprising performance taking over from Jason Momoa and doing a fantastic job that he was a standout. And even in the second one, he wasn't used to his full extent, but he's still so much enjoyable to watch and his funny antics. And he was strong. He's the destroyer who destroys everything. He's the strongest out of all of them. Rocket is just kind of a lab rat that didn't work very well. Without Groot, he's nothing. He's just funny, Bradley Cooper doing a silly voice as a raccoon. It doesn't even work very well. I think he's kind of an overrated character for sure. And without Groot, Rocket is really nothing. Drax stands his own as a badass.
Time. All right. I'm going to 35 to Zach because you went over.
All right.
8 extra 5.
All right, go ahead when you're ready.
Rocket is everything that makes a great Guardian. He is super funny, sarcastic, has that attitude that he's like on the fringes, someone you shouldn't root for, but he is a hero, but then he also kicks ass. Drax should be the one that you think kicks the most ass because he's the big muscles, but somehow Rocket, this raccoon that shouldn't work. He's a goofy raccoon, and he's the one that you're kind of rooting for and is scared of the most because he can pull out whatever weapon he wants. He also gets given a little more emotional heft when he gets to the second movie, kind of having a little bit of his identity, belonging on the team and belonging to a family. Am I done? No, okay. And there's a vulgarity that he has. It's not swears, but it's risky. Okay, that was done.
All right, 20 seconds on the clock for Linus.
All the development that is getting to Rocket in the second one kind of goes to Yondu more so than him because they realize they're the same person, and you get that development to Yondu. Where Drax is still this badass who's funny and cares about the team and found a family after his family was dead, and he becomes this badass destroyer, and he helps them. And Guardians are his family. He is a part of it for sure. He is the muscles. He is the badass. And he honestly could take Rocket in a fight, I'm pretty sure. Rocket is not much without Groot.
All right, 20 seconds on the clock for Zach.
Taking fight is not the argument. It's who's the best Guardian. And the Rocket is also the smartest and the most fun to watch in the action. And he is the funniest. And he has a great bond with Groot. Another risk. The tree should be interesting, but him being able to talk to and communicate without is what makes that work. Drax was an easy action figure to throw in there that has a one joke. It's just that he doesn't understand those. Rocket is more well-rounded.
Shit, that was really good.
I have seen Guardians movies.
Yeah, I've seen them as well.
Good. Okay, there were two big points that stood out in that fight for me, one from each of you. This that really stood out was Zach brought up the character development for Rocket, and he said that the character development was really more for Yondu, but they realized that the same kind of transplants itself over. But then Zach got in the jab at the end that he really is just a one-joke character, and they kind of ride that out with Drax. I think I'm going to have to give it to Linus, though. I think that
Drag that out.
That Zach spent so much of his argument on the emotional part and that punch back at him. I got to give it to Linus, which would mean Linus is the winner of today's match.
Oh, dang. That was so close. That was so close. All of you, that was so close.
That was insane, though. That was really good.
I think this is one of our best fights for sure.
This is up there. And unlike the team match, we don't plan on canceling this idea after one match.
I think the triple threat format worked pretty well.
This works.
I honestly love to see 3 newbies in a triple threat.
Yeah, I think that'd be.
Hey! Don't spoil an idea.
Never mind.
Don't spoil an idea. We're trying to fit players in. Don't spoil an idea.
I think I redeemed myself from my match against Isaac in this way, but everyone was great. I think Zach and I proved that if we were on the Muppets, we would have been pretty dominant.
Yeah, and we're going to go to each player now. First, we'll go to Andrew. Andrew, unfortunately, man, you couldn't quite pull the points out today. You were doing really well, but you kind of spent a lot of the match just hanging below these two. How are you feeling, though, after that?
I mean, honestly, I am disappointed I didn't score nothing, but honestly, Zack and Linus, they're fantastic fighters. So I can't be too disappointed because just how great they are. Maybe I should just stick to hosting.
No. You're still a top contender. You're still a good fighter.
I
was
was joking. I don't really plan on retiring.
Okay,
yeah.
well, because you have a DC match scheduled, so you're gonna have to fight again either way.
Yeah.
All right, and then we move on. Zack, man. Another unfortunate loss, but I think again you're a player where your record doesn't know how good you are.
I'm officially as good as Super at 0-2.
You're officially. Oh no! You are much higher than Super. Don't worry, it's okay. No, you came to play today, with a great performance. How do you feel after that?
Not great. Loss is hard. I felt like that was the best I can give, so it's a little disappointing when you can't pull it out. I don't want to be 0-2. That's not a reputation I want to have. Especially, I know I've had hard people I went up against. With Jeremy and Linus. I feel a little validated that Jeremy was able to beat the one everyone was predicting to be best, Greg. So I'm there. I just need some wins out there. I'm happy that Linus was able to take instead of Andrew. God damn it. Our team was able to represent.
Yeah.
Muppets are going to go far. You represent Battleground. I'll win the championship, and there will be trivia, and then Muppets will be on the map. Hopefully, my next match against Matt, I can get something going.
Yeah, definitely. You guys do have a match coming up soon. And finally, we will go to our victor today, Linus. How you feeling after that, man? Linus, you there?
Linus is just so shocked that he won. He is speechless.
He wanted to leave while he was hot. He just turned it off.
All right. Well,
Screen's frozen.
this yeah, it's frozen. We'll well, unfortunately, due to freezing, but I'm sure he's happy with the victory. He goes up 2-1. He has a good point score on him. Yeah, no, he's I mean, he did say a little something earlier, so we got something out of him. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you guys are not on the Movie Battleground page on Facebook, look us up and join. You guys are going to get involved in a fun match like this, or stress yourself out.
Oh yeah, no, this is 100% stressful. Like
it takes over like days of my life. I prepare really heavily.
Yeah, I aged so much.
After Linus, he's back.
I gained so much weight.
I apologize for that.
You are selling this match. Okay, Linus, you want to say something then on your victory?
Yes. Sorry, I cut out there for a second. My phone died. But yeah, this was a really well-fought victory. I didn't expect to win. This was such a hard match. I think I proved myself. I kind of went down with the match against Isaac, but I think I brought myself up here and proved I can still be a contender in this league. And I'm glad to go against such great components with Zack and Andrew. Even though, Andrew, you were neck and neck with all of them, I thought you were going to take a few of them, even if the points don't show how close this match was for sure. And this was amazing. This was the best match I was a part of. I think this is one of the best matches we ever made. And I love doing a Muppet question.
Yeah, that Muppet question was my favorite.
Look forward to the Muppet match in January 2018.
Just so you know, Linus, Isaac is commenting. He says, tell him he doesn't need to redeem himself. I think Isaac's in your corner.
I'm just thinking that one question. I know that was a close match against Isaac too, but
guys, this was an extremely fun match to be a part of. If you guys are not a part of the Movie Battleground Facebook page, you are not aging as fast as we are, and you need to get on this train. But no, we have a lot of fun matches. We got 2 matches going up every week as long as scheduling doesn't screw us. We have other videos, stuff, updates, top 10, random posts, just all sorts of stuff happening on the page. If you guys are not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. It's the only way you guys are going to constantly see the new matches show up. And on behalf of myself and the admin team and the players, which consists of a portion of the admin team, Aaron Canole, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time on the Battleground.